allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Antoinette, can I get a roll call?
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Ms. Smith? Here. Mr. Williams?
Here. Would somebody like to audit the bills?
I'll make a motion the town board approve abstract number 13 dated July 13th, 2018 in the amount of $162,368.52. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Mary, you are up.
First item on my agenda is the Route 164 underpass. There seems to be an issue that I
I'm sorry, guys,
experienced.
the microphone system kicked out.
Is it on?
Yeah, now I got it.
Okay. Route 164 underpass, there's a lot of, I think, out-of-state traffic that uses 164 to get through, and I've experienced personally cars not stopping before they come through. So I spoke to Rich, and I wanted to bring it up that I'd like to see some stop signs get installed at each of the underpasses. So,
Well, I know Councilman D'Andriano has looked at this in the past and worked with the safety committee. Certainly, we could notify Pete to, bring it back to the safety committee. And if you would like, I will be happy to send a letter up to the DOT passing along your recommendations.
I think that would be great.
Okay, we can do that.
Thank you. The second item on my agenda is from Mary Delanoy, the receiver of taxes. Mary would like to purchase new tax collection software and secure business automation services to update for the collection of software. Sorry, I lost my
Do we want to ask?
thing.
Mary, do you want to come up and say anything?
I'm good. I'm good, Mary. I'm sorry. I lost my line here. Okay, so this new software will provide the acceptance of credit card payments, both online and in person. So I think that that would be very helpful. You'll have online access to current tax information and tax history, and 24/7 access to the BAS customer service. This will be done in 2 payments, one in 2018 and one in 2019. The total cost to the town will be $13,500. So, do you want to add anything, Mary? You good?
No, unless anyone has questions.
Okay.
Mary, when someone uses the system to pay a tax bill, what is the fee that gets added to the bill to cover the use fee?
Okay, Mary Delanoy, receiver of taxes. If you choose to pay with a credit card, it will be a convenience fee of 2.45% on the total payment made, which equates to about $24.50 per thousand of tax bill.
Wow. Okay.
If you choose to pay with a debit card, which you can do online, this would provide that service. It would be a $3.95 flat fee. I believe that's the same thing for an ACH.
Okay.
If you did that, and no, actually the ACH, is $1.95 flat fee. The debit is $3.95. And the credit card obviously is a higher convenience fee that the credit card processing company charges. Any other questions?
Yeah, but if you pay it online, you don't get to get a piece of candy out of your candy dish on your desk?
No, actually, Sean, you can also pay in person.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I would receive a swipe machine at no extra cost to the
Great.
town. The BAS would provide that.
Great.
And you can pay in person with
It's
a
gonna
credit
be a
card
huge
as well. So
convenience.
you can still come in and get your piece of candy.
Great.
That's nice.
But you
Awesome.
would also still pay the convenience fee, because it's a convenience of using the credit card, whether it's at home,
Understood.
on your computer, or you come in and use it.
Great.
Well, I know I don't have checks anymore. Who carries checks?
So you could,
right?
the biggest benefit is those people who want to use the debit, because the flat fee is pretty
Right.
reasonable.
Sure. Very reasonable.
Any other
Thank you.
questions?
No, just a clarification. The total cost of the software is actually $15,450.
I
But
believe
we would
so.
recapture some of that because we do the tax collection for the schools.
Okay.
And that includes our first year maintenance fee.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to approve the purchase of business automation services in the amount not to exceed more than $15,450. So moved.
Second.
Just a point of clarification, for this year's budget, the fiscal impact is $5,800. The balance would be due in the 2019 budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, ma'am. Okay. The next item on my agenda is Clancy Moving and Storage Site Plan. So let me go. Town of Patterson would like to establish a performance bond sufficient to cover the restoration of the site should the developer fail to complete the site improvements for Clancy Properties located at 2963 Route 22 in Patterson. So I'd like to make a motion to enter the resolution to establish a performance bond in the amount of $42,350 with an associated inspection fee of $52,650. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the last item on my agenda is National Night Out. The Putnam Lake Park District would like to invite you to attend its third National Night Out on Tuesday, August 7th, 2018. Our community is the first and so far the only one in Putnam County to host a National Night Out. The event will be held from 6 to 9 p.m. at Memorial Field, 293 Haviland Drive in Patterson, New York. The purpose of the National Night Out is to celebrate neighborhood spirit and police-community partnerships, especially in the area of crime and drug prevention. This year, since our emphasis will be combating the opioid epidemic, we have asked Drug Crisis in Our Backyard to be a participant and featured speaker. Other participants will include the Putnam County Sheriff's Department, the New York State Police, the Putnam Lake Fire Department, and the Putnam County SPCA, the Patterson Recreation Center, and many other community organizations. There will be games, activities for children, a crime-solving scavenger hunt with prizes and free refreshments. The event is free of charge and open to the public. They've asked Sheriff Langley to say a few words about the importance of the community and law enforcement relationships at around 6:30 p.m., so you're invited to join him at the dais and underscore his message that Putnam Lake residents, the town of Patterson, and Putnam County are working together in the fight to make our community a better and safer place to live. Brewster, is Pat here? Oh, hi. I sent you an email that I received approval to bring a school bus up there, and we're going to, do some child safety crossing, and we have some pamphlets on bullying. It's a big topic, and, for the school children and how it impacts them later on in life with the opioid epidemic. So we're all prepared.
Great.
Thanks.
It's a very great event, and I hope to see you all there.
Next, we have, you done that? You okay?
Yes, I'm all done.
All right. Recreation requests, and the first one we have is for from our seniors relative to a senior trip request, AquaTurf over in Connecticut, Plantsville, Connecticut, and between transportation and the tickets, the total amount expenses is $2,756. Members will be paying $35 a piece. So the impact to the town budget would be $1,216. So I will make a motion that the town board approve the senior trip request in an amount not to exceed $1,300. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Next, we have received a memo from Matt Chabaro relative to summer hours at the rec center. And it's my understanding that the supervisor and Matt talked, and they have it all under control relative to the scheduling of work schedules. So that's that. Next, we have a salary increase request from Matt relative to one of his employees, which I will hold off. I see on the agenda we're going to have a executive session on personnel, So I will request that we discuss this at that time. I'll pull that one off.
Sean?
Next, no.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm moving quick here.
Yeah, that's okay. Next, we have wastewater treatment plant request, repairs. And we received a note from, I guess this is from Dennis, right? Relative to inspecting the wastewater treatment plant and evaluate and see what possible repairs will be needed. And they have quoted on-site repairs cannot be completed. If it's determined that on-site repairs cannot be completed, GUV, which is the company, Glasgow UV, will provide a finalized and accurate quote. So I will make a motion that the town board approve the today's quote from Glasgow in an amount not to exceed $1,250. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have the Harvey property, which is in the back here, and this is to authorize the town supervisor to enter into a contract with for the purchase of that property. The town supervisor and the town attorney have negotiated a contract sale, and which we have a copy of, and we have, I guess, once we have this signed, then we'll have 60 days of a due diligence period during which the town may provide tests, surveys, investigations of the premises to confirm its suitability for one or more of the town's purposes, either as is or in completion of renovations. I think we know we're going to have to do some renovations. So I will make a motion that the town board...
Before you do that,
Yes.
I believe our attorney would like to talk about the contract, some of the terms, in executive session, because we seem to have run into a bit of a roadblock.
Yep, so if we could table it.
I will
until
table
after
it
that. Thanks.
until whenever. Okay. All right, hold on.
Potentially to when we come out of executive session.
Correct.
Hold on, I wanted to ask something too. Mr. Supervisor, you sent out a note to Dasney up in New York
Yes.
State there.
And I did correct some of it before it went out, but yes. I asked for lead agency. We
Right.
took care of that at last meeting.
Right. My question to you is, there are other agencies that we have to notify, right?
No.
No, just them?
Mhm.
Okay, that's it. Sounds good. Next, we have Recycling Center Cell Tower. We have received a lease agreement from company Wireless Edge Towers, LLC, coming to us looking to bring back up the conversation of having a cell tower at the recycling center, and along with drawings, et cetera, which we just got this tonight. So I believe, Mr. Supervisor, you've been obviously in touch with these people, and they're going to come in at the next meeting. And
Well, we can invite them in. We can invite Metro North in as well, if that's what you would like to do. We are under a bit of a time crunch by way of a little background. As you all know, we were considering placing a cell tower at the landfill. Verizon was going to be the carrier which was driving the cell tower. Verizon backed out of the deal, essentially stopping that project from moving forward. We were using a different company at that time. They also backed out of a couple of other deals, and we were principally doing that so that we would have a location for Metro North to put up a tower, as opposed to the proposed tower location at Route 164. Since the deal fell apart for the town, then Wireless Edge, who was one of the other cell providers in the area that also lost some deals contacted the town and asked if there was any interest in putting the tower back at the recycling center. I had said that at the time that the deal fell apart, they were also evaluating the LabCorp property down on Route 311. And, I asked them to take a serious look at that property to see if that would meet their needs as well. Last weekend, or last Friday, I had a conference call with Metro North, who initially had expressed that they would be interested in the LabCorp site, to say emphatically that they are not interested in the LabCorp site, that the only site that they would be interested in is the recycling center, and if it doesn't go there, they are building by the end of the year the site at Route 164. So Wireless Edge has been doing a tremendous amount of work trying to see if the recycling center would work for everybody. He's come back with a proposal. And I think that's what we need to get out there, present to the public. The plans will be going up on the website so everybody can take a look at it. They've shifted the location, Wireless Edge has shifted the location somewhat from the location we were looking at. They have moved it farther to the southwest, to the downhill side of the sanitation building, where there are some trailers now. So we will get this up on the website, and I believe it's the board's intent to have a public hearing, or not a public hearing, but a public information session next meeting.
Definitely, I'm favoring it.
Okay. So if we can get a motion to have the town clerk to advertise that.
Make a motion that the town clerk, authorizing the town clerk to advertise our next meeting, including a public information session on the proposed wireless telecommunications facility down at the recycling center. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay.
Thanks, Charles. Okay, people may recall that after the tornado damage, the highway department had requested to buy a new chipper for a lot of the cleanup work that was needed. They also said at that time they would put the old chipper, which caused them a lot of distress and repair work, out to bid. And they've received bids back on that through Auctions International. The town highway superintendent is looking to accept that bid. It was a 2009 Salsco chipper, which they got a bid of $9,500 for, which will offset, I believe it was around $60,000 for the new chipper. So I'd like to make a motion upon the recommendation of Russ Goff, our highway supervisor, that we accept the bid and approve the resolution for sale of that piece of equipment. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item is an unfortunate situation that we've been talking about for quite a long time, and this comes from our Director of Code Enforcement, Bob McCarthy. It relates to a property that many people are aware of on Route 311 that has fallen into significant disrepair and clutter. And he had been working diligently with the family members and the owner to try to come to an amicable resolution that would allow cleanup of the property and usage for that homeowner. Unfortunately, those efforts have kind of fallen flat, and he finds himself in the position now of recommending that we move forward with an unsafe structure proceeding. And I think for the safety of anyone who would be near that building or in it, and also for the betterment of the community, I think it's important that we move forward with that process. One of the requirements for that process through the Chapter 67-4 is a survey, basically an assessment and evaluation of that building in order to proceed with the unsafe structure, almost like a condemnation proceeding. So Mr. McCarthy has requested some quotes from a few technical specialists and has received 2 verbal quotes. We are looking to approve the lowest of the 2, which would be to Eric Kupferberg for $500 to prepare that evaluation and submit that to the town. So I will make a motion that we approve that gentleman for a sum not to exceed $500 for the preparation of that site evaluation of that structure. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I said it when I started that this is a situation that no town board member wants to be in, of trying to have to do a proceeding like this against the property owner. But when it goes to the point that it's been to for many years without any significant improvement, it becomes an unfortunate situation. So it's not something that we do lightly, but it is necessary. Next item, to flip the tables and to be on a much happier note, we received a letter that was forwarded to us by way of someone from the Western Connecticut Health Network. And the letter I'd like to read, it's very short, says, yesterday on July 9th, 2018, the town of Patterson EMS transported 2 special needs patients that were involved in a motor vehicle collision to the Danbury Hospital. The EMTs providing care demonstrated exceptional professionalism, compassion, and care with these 2 very difficult patients. Their handoff report was exceptional, providing appropriate and thorough assessments and treatments therein. Please feel free to share this information with those involved. And this came to our head of our EMS, Denise Montana. The 2 EMTs that handled that case were our EMTs, both Harry and John. And I just want to commend both of them, as well as all of the people that work in our EMS program under the direction of Miss Montana. Thank yous don't come very often, but well deserved for the work that they do day in and day out, saving lives and protecting everyone. This is exactly the reason why the town board went out on such a limb to create this EMS service, because at the end of the day, the quality of care is the utmost importance. So I'd like to publicly commend all of our EMTs, but especially Harry and John in this case, for their fantastic service and to our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, we have 2 requests from the Patterson Fire Department. The first is to appoint Sean Casey from 140 Cornwall Meadows Lane in Patterson as a new member to the Patterson Fire Department and to make his insurance effective immediately. So I'll move that we approve Mr. Casey as a new member to the Patterson Fire Department, number 1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We don't need to do that.
We don't? Oh, okay. So then, that's it. That's all I have.
The second letter that we received from the fire department was removing a member from their roster.
Okay.
So first on my agenda for tonight is a unfortunate situation we had over in Putnam Lake, where an individual went and cleared out a considerable area of all the underbrush and small trees, essentially opening up a section of the Park District property for his own personal view. It raises a number of issues. It actually violates our code in 3 different sections. Don, I don't know if you have anything on this, or you need to talk to us in executive session, but...
I think it would be appropriate for executive session.
Okay, all right, because I do want to get the board's opinion, and I'm glad, Hank, you're here, that we can get the Park District's opinion on how to move forward with addressing this issue and restoring the damage that was done. So,
Obviously, Rich, you know, if you wanted to invite Hank in to the executive session for the purpose of discussing it, you could do that by
Sure.
appropriate motion.
sure, okay. All right, next on my agenda is a local law number 5. It addresses a number of zoning issues. As we go through and utilize our zoning code, we find that not everything that was written does what it's intended to do. So from time to time, we do need to make some adjustments to our zoning code. It addresses a number of issues with signs and fences, and it really is mostly just about clarification. I do want to bring to the board's attention, there's one somewhat significant change to the zoning code, and that would be, we have a piece of property along Fairfield Drive that is a commercial building that has been used by a number of different contractors. It is currently listed as being in the GB zoning district. We can't find any sort of use under the GB designation that really fits in that building that is successful. So recognizing that the building establishes its own limitations, what I've done is I've tweaked the code to allow a light industrial use to go in that building so that we could have, again, it was originally built, I believe, and designed for a dye manufacturing company. We've seen carpenters in there, we've seen other tradesmen in there. We currently have some interest by somebody who would be interested in doing ductwork in the building. I don't know if that's going to pan out, but we need to change the code so that we can have a reasonable use of that building. So that's what that's probably the most significant change that we have in here. I do also want to point out that the legal notice here calls for a public hearing on August 22nd. I'd like to change that to September 12th because we're going to need 30 days to get notice to adjacent municipalities. So with that change, I'd like to make a motion to introduce local law introductory law number 5, providing for a public hearing, and ask that this resolution be entered into the minutes as though read.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
And that takes care of that. Last Wednesday, we had a great meeting over in Putnam Lake on the DEC's, or I should say DEC, the state's harmful algae bloom, and I keep saying algae instead of algal because I'm old school, and that's the way it's always been. I don't know where algal came from.
I say algae too.
Yeah, it's, we get too highbrow sometimes. But we had a great meeting over in Putnam Lake. There was a lot of good feedback. I wanted to throw this out. I didn't hear from any of the town board members that night. The sense that I got from the community is they were very interested in certainly dredging, possibly looking at the septic systems, but more so with the dredging than anything. Anybody have any feedback? Any you want to share at this time?
I gave you mine, so it's good.
You know, I thought our role was to listen to the community. I still think that sewering is something that needs to be looked at for the, not even related to HABs, just related to the community. But I think for the purposes of what we were there for that night and the possibilities, I think that what the community came up with is the right approach. So we're here to support that, that vision. And so, that's where my support will be.
I also think that along the way, at the proper time, we have to make sure that the residents in Connecticut are included in this activity and cost sharing. And I think we have to define as the report said, upstream influences coming into the lake. I think the sources, that's the word I was looking for. Because, why dredge the lake and if we can get the approval for alum treatment or put in wastewater treatment plant, and you have Connecticut folks going on their merry way, and whatever these sources are from upstream coming into the lake, that part doesn't make sense to me. So I think we have to be very, very cognizant of those factors.
Okay. I will start putting in applications, trying to find funds to take it to the next step.
Yeah. Also, I just thought of it too. Best management practices.
Yes.
That needs to be focused on, and we have to work with the residents on that because that's right on their properties, rain gardens and all that good stuff. So
There's going to be some land acquisition involved in all that as well.
okay.
All right, last on my agenda, executive session. We have a couple of different issues, a personnel issue we need to talk about, but also I'll let everybody know that I had a preliminary meeting with CSEA on the contract. Our current contract with CSEA expires December 31st of this year. And I began some preliminary discussions. I want to bring the board up to speed and see potentially we have an agreement.
Great.
So, Anybody have any other business?
It's a little early, but I will mention is since we got the flyer about the book sale, September 22nd to the 30th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day, and it's going to be held at the Patterson Fire Department property, and that the benefit the restoration of a historic 1958 Mack fire engine.
Anyone else? Public recognition? Any member of the public wish to be recognized? Hi, George.
George Disbrow, resident, representing the Board of Trustees for the library. I'm going to give this to Antoinette. It's an envelope. It's a very brief report. As you're aware, we have spent the last couple of years working with a partnership through Councilman D'Andriano about the emergency management plan. And 2 months ago, when that tornado hit, we not only were able to put into our own emergency action plan, but also to take a lot of that information that we have been spent with meetings with Councilman D'Andriano and other town agencies. And we just wanted to give you, it's kind of like a case study of what we were able to do in this particular situation, how we were able to assist some community members, and also to let you know that the efforts that our partnership has been working with have really yielded some very, very good results. So it's very brief. It won't take a moment, and at your own leisure, if you would just read that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
George.
very much. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Bruce Major, 166 Somerset. As it relates to the next meeting, I have a couple of questions. As you know, back in August, we were going through this, and there were several recommendations. One that you would do an overview of all the existing cell towers to see what was really needed in this town. There was discussions about hiring a consultant to actually make a determination as to how can we get the best coverage with the least amount of cell towers, okay? And then it went away at the landfill with consideration for LabCorp. LabCorp seems to be the location that's furthest away from homes, and I'd like to know what is the position with this vendor, and you indicated that there's another vendor. What are the interests of both those vendors for LabCorp and their rationale not wanting to cover LabCorp?
It wasn't, when you say vendors, you're talking about Wireless Edge or
Right.
Homeland Towers?
Well, Homeland Towers, I think, walked away.
Homeland Towers walked away because Verizon pulled out of the deal.
But then you said there were two others. Did you not?
Vendors? One.
Well, or cell tower
was-
people who were interested in providing cell service.
There's Wireless Edge,
Okay,
who also was proposing to build a tower at the Patterson Baptist Church,
okay,
who Verizon also walked out on that deal. So he was left with basically nothing in the area, so he contacted the town. He looked for some direction. He wanted to know if we were still interested in pursuing the recycling center site. I said, you know, nothing is off the table, but, you know, when we, you know, last had any discussion about a cell tower, we were looking at possibly the LabCorp property to see if that was a viable alternative. We never saw anything as far as coverage. We never saw anything as far as height or design or what the visual impact would be. Those are all things that we still needed to evaluate before I think any of us would have been comfortable with supporting the LabCorp site. That being said, we all recognized that there was some potential there. And that's where it was all going. He was working with the owners of LabCorp. He actually had a tentative agreement with them, a lease agreement, all worked out. We were all surprised when Metro North came back and said, we're not going to consider it, period, end of story. They said point blank, if you're going to propose a tower at the LabCorp site, we are building on 164.
why is that?
Well, the
Is it
justification they
excuse me,
gave,
is it a timing issue?
the justification they gave was A, timing, because they did not believe that LabCorp could get through the process quick enough to meet their needs. And they also threw out the fact that they said they had spent a considerable amount of money designing the 164 site. It was ready to build. They were ready to build it, and they were not willing to wait any longer.
Well, the issue of money, I don't think matters if they're going to move it to another site. In other words, they've already spent that money, they're willing to put it here. The question I have is this. It appears that LabCorp was a viable alternative. It moved it as far away from homes as possible. We really didn't get what this town said they were going to do and hire a consultant to do an overview. I think that this town can still get the approvals for LabCorp. This town board can take over the approval processes if you so desire, just as the town of Southeast has taken over some planning board issues. So I think that can be done. I think we can also reach out to maybe our county legislator and see if she has some influence with the county exec in looking to get that proposal or get Metro North to slow down a little bit and give the town an opportunity to do what the town said it was going to do last August in doing a true overview of cell needs for the town. So what I'm hoping that you'll do for this next meeting is you'll do something along that line to satisfy everybody in the town to ensure that cell tower coverage for the town is appropriate with the least amount of towers, and that we don't get this tower built only to find out Verizon says now we want to build one here at the firehouse or at another location, when in fact maybe one tower could have served us all. So that's what I'm hoping to do. You don't need to comment on it. All I'm asking you to do is to consider those facts. What I'd like to also do, because some of you were on the board, some of you weren't on the board, but I'd like to go back to when the process was going through where the town received a request from the people in Put Lake to create a park district. At one of those meetings, I spoke to the previous supervisor to the issue of the Connecticut residents. And I asked him specifically, what are you going to do to incorporate those folks with our park district? Now, what he told me was very simple. I met with them years ago. They weren't interested. I'm not interested in speaking to them now. What I would hope this town would take a different approach and look to meet the elected officials that cover that area, because it looks like, when I looked at the map, there's a substantial number of homes on the Connecticut side that impact this lake. And I would hope that you could meet with the elected officials on that side and see if you can create a district that'll enable those people who have a right to use that lake to also ensure the quality of the water, because down the road there may have to be a lawsuit against them. And I think the first thing you should be doing is looking to see if they're willing to cooperate with you rather than just walking in the dark and moving ahead with the issues that you're looking to do. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of the historic issues of Putnam Lake.
I am well aware of the historic issues, as you're well aware. I've been involved in many of the initiatives in trying to entice New Fairfield and their elected officials to support us in trying to improve the lake. You know, unfortunately, they always respond that they have their own issues, and that most of the roads which are causing the problems are all private roads and not something they are willing to address. Now, they are a regulated MS4 under the federal program, just like, you know, the town of Patterson is. And, you know, I've always maintained that as a regulated MS4, they need to address their runoff coming into New York. They consistently refuse to do that. In this last set of discussions on the HAB program, there's been a lot of discussion about the fact that there is all these residents in Connecticut, and that DEC needs to reach out to DEP, start a dialogue that then we can all join in to try to come up with a solution that incorporates Connecticut. You know, I got pretty much the same response from DEC as we received in the past from New Fairfield. As this program moves forward with the HAB action plan, there's going to be opportunity, and I promise you we will be reaching out to New Fairfield to try to bring them into the fold on trying to protect Putnam Lake.
Well, that's all I'm really suggesting, because I don't think there's been contact in a number of years, and I think it's probably good to open the door again. Thank
Sure.
you.
Anyone else? Motion to go into executive session?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.